What's up? Welcome to season 4 of Comic Book Nation, where we're all back in the studio for the first time in a long time. If you are watching the podcast, if you're listening, it means nothing to you that we are all in this location. But to all our viewers, we're happy to have you back with us out here in the studio. And if you're watching up here, you can tell we have a special guest with us today. Matt, do your signature introduction for us, please.
I have a signature introduction? Oh, this is amazing. We always love to talk about Miss Marvel around here, and today we have Aramis Knight of Miss Marvel, who plays Kareem, a.k.a. Red Dagger, / the Red Daggers now. It's like expanded. It's such a big thing. How are you?
Franchise expanded.
Very good. How are you guys?
Doing good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Where's your studio located?
Nashville.
We're in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, nice.
Yeah. Like random. It's so weird. When I moved here, I was like, wait a minute, comic book is in Nashville? Like, that's awesome.
That's what everybody says.
We are the media company down here in Nashville. That's us.
Yes.
Some people say New York, some people say LA. We say no, Nashville. Here we are.
We're in a country music building. High rise. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, whoa, that's too much information.
We are at one. That's good to address.
Oh, God.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Very excited of these last couple episodes, and we're about to lead into the finale. One of the things to just kind of launch this a bit is how cool it is that the show has taken so much time in putting together like Kamala's superhero identity. Like there's so much thought put into each piece, right? Whether it's the broken necklace, whether it's the actual bracelet itself, and all that ties to your lineage. And now we see that, the scarf also has meaning because Kareem was the one that actually gave that to her. And so, that's going to happen now. Like that's a part of this character moving forward in the MCU. How does it kind of feel to be such a kind of now a critical and foundational part of that character moving forward?
Oh man, I mean, it's a dream come true just to be a part of the MCU in general, let alone, being on a show like this that we all have so much passion for and are also, representing for a culture. It's there's a lot of good and seemingly no bad with this show.
For sure.
What I have been wondering is this show is such an amazing kind of cultural window, and each episode comes out packed with all kinds of Easter eggs and details that when we kind of step back, if we are not kind of culturally familiar, we can research and we learn all kinds of fun things, whether it's just from the streets of Pakistan and how that operates or Bollywood movies and references that we're getting. I'm really kind of interested for your part when you guys are doing the Red Daggers, what kind of cultural influences or staples did you guys work into the physical aspect of your character, the action, the choreography, the fighting style? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, fighting style wise, I come in with 4 or 5 years of wushu background, so I was able to bring that to the character. Definitely helped a lot with the stance work and really just the form throwing the daggers as well as the hand-to-hand combat, which I did most of myself. But I had a dialect coach and a culture coach to make sure that we were being authentic to the accent, also authentic to the culture. And it took many hours of training to get to the point where you guys see in the show. When we went to Thailand, actually, we had to quarantine 2 weeks when we had first gotten there because it was the beginning of COVID. And every single day I was on Zoom with my dialect coach, just pretty much grinding the whole time.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. Actually, I'm so excited to meet you personally as a character on the show. But for people who aren't really involved with comics and they don't know that comic book character, we haven't seen a lot of you yet. So I have a few questions. In the comics, I know that you have like an on and off again relationship with Kamala. Do you guys do you have any romance with her at all that you're seeing in the season?
I don't know if this season I would say it's romance. I think I've become a great ally for Kamala, and I think we become very close very quickly based on kind of the traumas that we go through together. We're very trauma bonded by the time episode 5 comes around. I think there's chemistry between the characters. There's definitely good chat, good banter, but as of now, I just see them as kind of work allies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so on the other flip side of that, is there any possible resentment that, Kareem has worked his entire life to become a hero, and Kamala just kind of gets a bangle and is born with that ability? Like, is there
Absolutely.
do you see that?
Absolutely. And I think I wouldn't say I guess I wouldn't say resentment as much as I think Kareem is very willing to challenge her, and I think he also realizes that he's got a lot that he could teach her. She could learn a lot from him. I think it served really well in real life too, bringing our real life dynamic to the screen, because I'm a child actor, started when I was 5. And Iman, this is she's new to this all, so it was like it's very much
Oh wow.
life imitating art. It was easy to bring that sort of confidence and knowing that Kareem has, just based on the fact that I've been doing this so long.
It's so awesome to watch. I love your chemistry. I can just feel it. Like the moment you were on screen with her, I just felt that. It's really great to see.
Yeah, Iman and I are really good friends, so it wasn't too difficult.
Awesome.
Over.
My question is, as we were kind of indicating at the beginning, this show has taken the Red Dagger character and expanded it into an entire new kind of bigger mythology of this group with these deep ties to the region. Now that you have this larger framework to play with, where else in the MCU would you like to see Kareem or the Red Dagger show up, just from your personal preference, in some storylines that maybe they weren't first featured in the comics, but you think would be great for the MCU?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I'd love to work with Moon Knight, just because I love Oscar Isaac. But I think a Deadpool Red Dagger meetup would be really cool, very interesting. I think we would be a pretty dynamic duo.
How can we make that happen? Do we need to start like
make that happen, yes.
like a campaign? That's so good. Oh my gosh. Love it.
You gotta call Feige up.
Yeah. I'll just ring him. He's my buddy. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, yeah. Just the talk about the color red and how to wear it alone would be too hilarious. Not to do, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fashion appreciation in this room already, so like, yeah, that scene would go over quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my last question is there anything you can tease us on the finale and possibly a season 2?
Yeah, it's a really big episode. Without giving anything away, I'll say I think you see connections in the series that are maybe a bit unexpected, and you definitely see how much Kamala values Kareem as an ally for her. He says when they say goodbye, if you ever need anything, I'm just a call away. So you'll definitely be seeing more of Kareem, and I'm excited for everyone to really know how the show is going to end. As for season 2, it's totally up to them. But we're all crossing our fingers, hoping for it. We got really good ratings, so I think the chances are high. And I've got loads of ideas for season 2.
Yes. Love that. I actually heard in another interview, I'm just going to throw this out here, that you went in and you had to kind of tell everyone, like, hey, I have training, like, use me to my full capability, and like what I can do. And so it kind of seems like you are able to tell them.
Yeah, actors are babied a lot on set. Like, yeah, we're just like babied, like treated like we're super delicate, I guess. I consider myself like a pretty tough person. I grew up as a basketball player, so competitive spirit and like the willingness to do things has always really lived in me. So whenever I'm on set and they want my double for something that I know I could do just as good, yeah, it definitely bothers me a bit. But yeah, coming back around when we were shooting Dobie Got, Noah Garrett, who was originally Kamran's stunt double, Risha's stunt double, he was promoted to be our stunt coordinator. And we were really good friends, and we had trained together, and he kind of knew my abilities. He knew that I trained in Wushu, and he was just my good friend. So we sat down and had a talk, and I was like, dude, like, actually utilize me. Like, I can really do a lot of stuff here. And to be honest, like, if you look at every other, hero in the MCU, I mean, how many of the actors are actually doing their action. You know, it's something really new that I can bring to the MCU. And after having that discussion, they really built the fights around what I'm best in, which is like, you know, hand-to-hand combat and kicking and stuff like that. So yeah, I was super thankful to be able to have some say, at least in the action.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I loved hearing that. I was like, oh, we have to touch on that. People have to know how hard he worked, like with the combat too. So I definitely appreciate that about you.
Yeah, the effort showed on screen. You know, I know we gotta let you go, but I would be remiss to not at least mention one of my favorite topics around here, champions. When we talked to Aman, she was down to kind of lead a team, right? She's led in the books. If the opportunity were to arise, would you be down for joining that team? A little MCU Champions action?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
100%. I'm just waiting for the call.
And we'll see if we can get Moon Knight in that same group somehow. He doesn't really fit,
And
but like we'll just figure it out. Yeah,
Deadpool too. Like
Deadpool too. Yeah,
put it all together.
this will really just be Kareem's team, and then that'll be the.
I love that.
I'm pulling for that Red Dagger versus Jake Lockley match.
Oh my God, it'd be amazing. It'd be awesome. And then you guys can like duel in accents as well. It'll be a full.
Yeah,
set.
true.
Well, of course, you can catch the finale. Man, next week. That's crazy. That's right around the corner.
Right?
And man, kudos on all the success. And thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Catch you later.
Talk soon.
That's super fun.
All
He's so
right.
nice.
Thank you to Aramis Knight. Red Dagger, part of Miss Marvel, which is streaming on Disney Plus, and the finale is coming up this week. I'm sure you guys are caught unaware of that and have no idea that's happening, but just wanted to inform you. All right. So
Especially
now
if you're
that we've
watching
got
this.
done our, just like Jesus and Mero, we got illustrious guests. And so after our illustrious guests, we're going to keep it moving. You like that one? You like that one?
That's good.
So let's talk some news. We're going to stick with Marvel for a second. Have y'all seen this Namor picture that's out there?
Yes.
So, Black Panther 2 is the next film coming after Thor Love and Thunder, which we will be discussing in full spoilers at the end of the show. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is coming. We still have no official idea about what this story is going to be, but the Marvel machine never stops. The merch is getting made, and so therefore we are getting leaks. And we got to look at Namor in this past week. We got more than that. We got Namor. I think we got Atuma, which is another kind of aquatic character, villain for Namor. And it's played by Tenoch Huerta, who starred in Narcos Mexico, if you've ever watched Narcos Mexico. And I mean, this has been an easy thing. We were joking before the show that this is hashtag not my Namor, but that's a very real reaction for some people who are seeing this picture. If you haven't seen it, go on Comicbook.com, Marvel, check it out. It's out there. And it's very much Namor, but with much more of a kind of ancient South American vibe, right? Mm-hmm. He looks like he's very kind of Aztecish with the armor and the kind of facial structure. He's got the nose rings and the thick kind of jade earrings and all that. And it's that, like I said, ancient kind of South American cultural influence. That's why they got a Latin American actor. Yeah. And so basically, this version of Namor in Atlantis is going to have, the sunken cities of the Aztecs and things like that. It was like what we're kind of going with, which I get. Aquaman kind of already stole that whole Pan-Pacific vibe, and that's already done. Jason Momoa is locking down everything from Hawaii to Japan, He's like, that's all Aquaman vibe. Yeah. So you got to go where the oceans allow you whatever's left, and you're like, all right, well, South America, has plenty of culture and, wonders down there, and why not? Namor.
And also that hasn't been, like, even from from a separate, like, trying to keep it separate vibe, but also, like, that hasn't been explored a lot. So it does kind of feel, yes, I totally understand looking at this picture why some will be like, especially if you look at our header image right here, our cover image of, like, classic Namor. But, like, I don't know. I think he looks cool. Like I think he
I
looks
think he
different.
looks like a
and kind
wrestler.
of fresh.
I think he looks like he's in the WWE.
As someone who watches WWE on
Yeah.
a regular basis, like I can totally see that.
like that. Not in
That's
this,
not a bad
not
thing,
in
though.
the image that is showing right now. Like that is classic Namor to me. But definitely this new image, he looks like a straight up like
He looks
WWE
cool.
like wrestler. He looks cool. It's just it's a totally different vibe. The most important thing that we have to all remember here are the muscles in check. Like, is he looking buff and like godly? And yes, he does. So
yeah, I mean, that's concept art. We'll see what the man looks like, but Marvel's a machine. They get those bodies in order. So I'm expecting great things. But yeah, I think, you always got a thing like Aquaman. Everybody's all up in arms about Jason Momoa, tattoos and all that. But when you saw that movie and you saw him in the water, it was fine. Like, it all looked fine. And he put him in the orange suit, and it was all Aquaman.
He looked awesome in the orange suit.
I think this will be Namor. I think that this still looks, he has that imperial kind of nature to him. He looks like he will act like a snobby king.
I was gonna say, this comes from someone who's not. I'm not a Namor fan.
Nobody is.
I don't know about no.
I mean,
I think
people
Nicole
are Namor
is.
fans,
Nicole's a
but
huge
like,
Namor fan.
But what does that even mean? It means you get to read a bunch of obscure, half-formed stories about Namor. Like,
does he have the foot wings?
I mean,
That's
the foot
the-
wings. I mean,
That's the
you gotta
important
have
question.
that.
Does he
You
have
gotta
them?
do that. If they don't do that, if they have flippers or something, I mean, people are gonna flip out. But
Be like the deep and have some weird gills in the
Yeah.
in the foot.
yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know. But we saw that Atuma feels like like an aquatic enemy.
And in that same vein.
And I'm not mad about the South American things. I think there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that. And like I said, Aquaman already grabbed that other side of the ocean, so you do with what you can, so not to make a carbon copy of Jason Momoa's Aquaman. So I get it, guys. I get it.
Yeah.
The other thing that we saw this week is that we got official confirmation that our boy Vinny, our friend of the show Vinny, Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox have been officially confirmed, or not. Was it officially confirmed, or just reported? Okay, not officially confirmed. Let's chill. But it's been reported that they will be showing up in the Echo Disney Plus series, and that will be the kind of first reunion of our Marvel, Netflix, Daredevil, and Kingpin within the MCU. They've both appeared separately, of course, but now this will be their official reunion. And it's been interesting to kind of gauge the reactions to this. Obviously people are celebrating, throwing up memes like, hello, Marvel Kings, like, your turn, all that stuff. And you love that. But there's also some people who are kind of questioning, like, well, if we have Daredevil and Kingpin is this even an Echo series anymore? Or like, why even do it here? Why not just do a Daredevil series? Which, guys, we are getting another Daredevil series. That's already happening. So.
Also, it makes perfect sense from where the character was introduced.
Right.
How her ties to, like, where else would he show up? Like, now bringing Daredevil also makes sense. Like I don't know. I think that's like just reaching to be pissed about something.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that case we're working hard to be angry. Like, we are getting Daredevil and Kingpin and Echo. We are also getting a Daredevil series, and so like, we also got Echo and a Hawkeye series, and it didn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
And we had Black Widow,
More
Echo,
content.
Kingpin, and a whole bunch of stuff in Hawkeye, and didn't hurt anything. So, I'm not mad at this. I think it's good, and like Matt said, there's a big part of Maya Lopez's story that has to do with Daredevil, and that obviously has to do with Kingpin, and it's going to be cool. We also heard additionally that not only will Daredevil be showing up, but this whole Marvel Netflix ball is going to get rolling, because we've heard other rumors reporting that Daredevil will be in 3 out of 6 of the episodes of Echo, and that he will be there kind of on this mission to find a former ally who we know as Jessica Jones.
Bum, bum, bum.
Which also goes hand in hand with recent rumors that, not rumors, but the actual fact that Disney Plus has changed the title of the Jessica Jones series. If you watch it on Disney Plus, it is now AKA Jessica Jones in the title cards. It might say Jessica Jones when you go to click on it, but when you actually watch the show, they changed all the title cards to say AKA Jessica Jones.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, this ball seems like it's pretty clearly. They also released this whole thing this week saying it's all connected with Marvel Netflix and did all that. So, it seems like all of this is happening in tandem as we
Jeff Loeb
come
is
speeding.
like pissed somewhere.
I know, Jeff Loeb is just like, just in a shower of some hotel, like drinking a bottle of whiskey.
Like Marvel
crying.
TV looks at this, like all the people that would annoy me. It's kind of like me and Nick always talk about where like the new NXT to WWE relationship is so different than the old one, and those people are probably like, where was this? Marvel TV must be like, really? We couldn't get this kind of rollout when we were crossing over with everything? That must be annoying, and I totally understand that frustration. By the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be annoying for me too.
So
it's
exciting.
cool
I'm
now.
a huge fan. I love Jessica Jones. That's one of my favorite Marvel shows ever. So I'm freaking out.
Always
over
down
that.
for more Jessica Jones.
Yeah, so I mean, this all sounds good. I mean, yeah, and I don't expect this to be in. I think that we're gonna get Charlie Cox's Daredevil in Echo. I also think we're gonna see Matt Murdock possibly in She-Hulk show up. So like,
Would make sense, too.
it
that'd be
makes sense
great.
too. So there's no shortage to any of this. So I'm not trying to limit myself, as Janelle so aptly put it.
These are the major players in that street level Marvel world. So it just makes sense for them all to be mingling and intersecting and all that stuff. Like I don't know what else you want.
Absolutely.
What else do you want?
Yeah, I am not mad at this at all. At all. Bring back my Misty Knight, even though
Misty Knight.
she's been holding down that judge show. Bring back my Misty Knight.
She's amazing.
Yeah, so that's some Marvel news. Matt, you wanted to throw in some wrestling news at the end here. So
yes.
take us into this non-controversial thing you're about to do.
Some breaking-ish news. People who have been following all of the Vince McMahon drama have known about the reports previously that said he was being investigated by the board for a $3 million essentially payoff to hide an alleged affair with a former WWE paralegal. And that was essentially hush money and NDAs were involved. Well, now a new report from the Wall Street Journal has kind of updated that and unearthed that it's actually 4 different payoff cases. They were all with former WWE employees, and now we're looking at a number around 12 million over the course of 16 years. So that is what the newest update is. There's a lot more information that kind of dives into each case. One was a former competitor, and it goes a lot further than that. You can find all the details on Comicbook.com in our article, our excellent article. But yeah, it's one of those things where we've talked about Vince McMahon and the thing that like finally kind of moves him out of the picture. He's already stepped down from the CEO position and from the chairman spot, and his daughter has stepped in. John Laurinaitis, who was the VP of Talent Relations, who was also included in this investigation, has since been, they haven't officially, fired him, but the reports are that he's been moved out of that position, and it's kind of unknown what's going on there, but he's not in that role right now. So a lot of the stuff is happening. He's been showing up on TV, kind of what has been looked at as kind of a, hey, I'm still here, I'm still in power, I might not be in that role anymore, but I'm still over creative and stuff. I don't know if the mounting things changes that and makes to where, he doesn't show up on TV anymore and we start seeing a smaller role. Don't know, none of that stuff's up in the air. I don't know if they will address it tonight on SmackDown, but I will be very interested to see if they address it at all, because so far they've addressed it way more on TV than I ever thought they kind of would. So, but that's the latest update from there.
Do you think we've had enough of these headlines to fill out one of those Vince McMahon like falling out of his seat memes yet?
Oh, have you seen, man, the meme machine has been hard at work with all those. So yeah, it is something else.
All right. Well, thank you for that dark let off. I think we're going to take a break from there. And when we come back, we are going to talk about Miss Marvel's latest episode, The Boys finale, Stranger Things, Thor, Love and Thunder. Yeah, we have time for all this. And comics as well. So stay tuned and watch us cartwheel through all of that. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation Season 4, your one-stop shop for all things geek culture. So now we are going to illustrate how we are your one-stop shop for all things geek culture by going kind of across the world here of current content that's out there. Let's move it around. Can we move it around a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do Thor last so people don't have to be spoiled of that. Rich, I'm sorry, we're going to do Thor last. Let's talk about Ms. Marvel since we just got done. This was a big Marty McFly episode. You got her, one of these kind of grandfather loop episodes for Ms. Marvel where Kamala traveled back to the past of Pakistan and during the partition and saw the story of her great-grandmother and great-grandfather who were both thirst traps who met each other randomly and then had this awesome thirst trap romance in their shack. And but of course partition, came and broke things up. And I think this episode for me, I'm just going to kind of make this quick because we got a lot to do, is the epitome of what I've been saying about Ms. Marvel all along, and I think is going to be true for this whole series for me, which is this is like one of the best solo character stories I've seen, and like world building and character building stories I've seen from Marvel, period. It's also just one of the weakest in terms of Marvel lore. Like every time it has to go Marvel is where I kind of lose it. Or I don't lose it, but I'm just like, well, this isn't as good. And I wish we could have stuck with the thing. Like, if this had just been like a movie about two grandparents, a Pakistani girl finding out, like what's that Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves movie with the mailbox?
The Lake House.
The Lake House, yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, if it was like the Lake House and it's like some girl finding out how her grandparents fell in love and what makes her family special.
Such an underrated
and, like,
rom-com, man.
Yeah, I know. But that's why we reference it all the time. And found out why her family is the way it is and in that belief brought together her grandmother and her mother for that beautiful scene, where they're kind of bridging those generational gaps. Like, that would have been an awesome movie. And I'd be like, yeah, we should be thinking Oscar for this. Same thing. It's when we have to get into the Marvel of it all that I'm just like, And, again, these power sets, I'm not one of these Ms. Marvel, like, I can't believe they changed the powers, Red Hulk, in the comments. I'm not one of those people. I get the change. I get why. But I still think in this particular iteration of this character, on a TV budget, it still kind of looks funny. Like, trying to get in that the most ambitious thing in this whole show was the sequence where they tried to get a younger child actor to walk up those invisible
I loved that sequence.
I loved the meaning of it, but I didn't love the way it looked or the execution. I was just like, there's only so much you can do with child actors.
But I love that because I thought, they explained, like, we've been looking for the explanation of why that existed this whole time as far as steps. I love the part, but I'll let Janelle go.
I didn't know why, no one was noticing it happening. Like, there's a crowd of people. It was very awkward to me. Like, I didn't like that.
Totally.
I didn't like that moment very much. I'm kind of with you on that. I just felt like it could have been done differently and better. Like, even if she just, used her big hand to, put her and, throw her to her dad.
Well, I thought the end of that was really effective. When it's, when it's the traces start showing, that is what he picks up on and he finds her. Thought that was really effective.
Yeah.
You could have just done that and just have that guide her along the way if you didn't want to do the other thing.
But I'm not gonna fault the show for that moment. I don't know. Is it my turn? Can I say?
Yeah.
I just felt so emotionally connected to this episode, and this is I've really enjoyed this entire series, but this episode actually had me not getting distracted. I wasn't on my phone and I wasn't playing with my dog, and I just was so immersed in it, and that is the first time this season, and I didn't realize that I wasn't feeling that way until this episode hit. And yes, that backstory, oh my gosh, I just want to see more of them. That is what I care most about right now. So I feel like the backstory kind of stole the show, but I'm happy about it because I loved it. And I really don't know. I have no idea how they're going to get everything into one more episode. I think these shows need to be longer.
I know. I feel like we say that almost every show is how the heck are they going to do it? And 9 times out of 10, I feel like we leave.
They do a fine job.
They do they get 80%, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they'll get 80%. I feel like Obi's probably one of the better ones. Also Hawkeye right there, right? It's delivering everything. But I agree with you. I feel like the backstory there's been so much love and attention put into all the pieces that make up Miss Marvel. And so when we're finally getting to the Miss Marvel of it, right, when she actually has the full costume, all of these things have meaning now that they didn't have before. It would just be, oh, it's the suit from the books.
Yeah.
And that wears off very quickly. Okay, I know everyone loves to be like authenticity to the comics, but that wears off pretty quickly. And then you're just like, oh, well, what's next? I love that there's so much tied to each piece, and it means that you're invested in her when she finally becomes that person. But I agree. I felt like this show ended, like that real ending was after the families come back together. She has her thing with Kareem.
Yeah.
And then right there is when the credits need to roll. Yeah. Then you get this weird kind of shoehorned in
ending.
You get this weird shoehorned in thing. And it just felt
kinda
like,
weird.
what? Is this a different episode? Like I
It's
almost
a Marvel
thought
finale,
I know,
bro.
but I just was like, there's just this kind of not dysfunction. There's just kind of disjointedness to that I do agree with. So like the Marvelness of it hasn't. I've said this throughout the whole show. It's been my least. I care least about that.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but just in like all the other stuff is so good. That's why I'm here. And this pretty much continued that. This was like a perfect epitome of that.
This episode made me cry, which was like amazing.
Great, man.
It was so emotional.
But yeah, I don't know how they're gonna get to do it all in the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm loving these new characters like
Yeah.
Kareem. That was I love him, and I
mean,
we'll
I just have to say a shout out to Fawad Khan, who is like a international super Pakistani superstar actor, but has just created a whole new level of things called Grandzaddies or Great Grandzaddies, which I don't think was a thing before this
I saw him
episode.
trending all over the place. Like people just sharing pictures of him. That's amazing. That's awesome.
We never
I love
had
that.
great grandzaddies. I mean, zaddies we've even had grandzaddies, but taking it to great grandzaddy level is, man, Khan. This man is a legend. So yeah, he was great, and his co-star in this one, I'm sorry if I butcher these names. Muish Hayat is another Pakistani incredibly famous
They were both
actress.
fantastic.
Yeah, and you can see why in this episode. And American audiences getting introduced to them and thirst trapping them is
Great.
Amazing to me. Yeah.
Yes.
More international thirst trapping. Thank you. All right.
Speaking of thirst
what were we talking about again?
I don't know, but I was like,
Miss Marvel.
I was like thirst trap.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do in this finale, bro. I'm worried. These Marvel finales are always kind of hella weak to me,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of worried about this one because, like you said, the cultural stuff seems like all we're gonna do is have Kamala's whole family make her a costume, go kick some. They're not gonna say ass, but they're gonna say go kick some butt, and she's gonna go and save her buddy Bruno.
And that
kick
part will be awesome.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a big fight.
Yeah.
And that one will be the jury's kind of out because those have been
I
hit
don't
and
trust
miss.
that. Yeah, I
Those
don't
have been
trust
hit and
this.
miss.
Yeah.
I think these powers are going to look kind of crazy when they're trying to really duke it out, but
Hope
we'll
so.
see.
Oh, fingers
All I know
crossed.
is Iman Vellani's a star. I'm
she's
expecting
fantastic.
Carol Danvers to show up in this
You think she
too.
does?
because I think the
Yeah.
bangle activating does something. I hope we find out that it's the quantum band and all that stuff, and we can start
Oh my
merging this,
gosh.
start explaining to people who Quasar is,
Oh, God.
and why Quasar isn't Nova, and why Nova isn't Captain Marvel, and why Captain Marvel isn't Marvel, and all this stuff we can start
Again,
doing.
we gotta
Yeah.
do that
Captain
again.
Universe
Yes,
isn't
We already
Nova.
did that the
For
first
the people
time.
like me.
We gotta
Yes.
do that the first time.
Captain
We
Universe
need
is
it.
none of these
You
people.
know how many articles of those I wrote?
So, yeah.
It's like,
I'm hoping we get to, I hope all this goes down in the finale and we get some things that open up this from the cultural thing that we've had to the larger MCU. As people are saying in the comments, Phase 4, it's really been like great personal stories, hard to tie to larger MCU. It's been like the challenge. So I hope this one does it because we have literally another Marvel movie coming after this called The Marvels, and we need to make that transition. So.
losing my
All
mind.
right, what you guys think? Moving on of The Boys finale.
Wow, we
So-
moved from Miss Marvel to
Wholesome
the boys
to not.
finale. I don't know. We were talking about
This was
thirst
kind of a
traps in Miss
wholesome
Marvel.
finale. This was all about fatherhood and family, and and some people might say Jensen Ackles is a grandzaddy. So we're still on the same theme here. We're on similar themes. We got The Boys finale. It dropped early, thanks a lot Amazon, because I had to stay up all night writing up stuff I thought I was gonna be able to write this morning. But I reviewed The Boys season 3 finale for Comic Book. You can read it on Comicbook.com TV. And here's what I'll say is The Boys season 3 had some of the best action sequences that we've seen and thrilling moments we've seen from this series for sure. Jensen Ackles was a fantastic addition to this cast and to this season. And his Soldier Boy was. It's hard to be as much of a scene stealer as Anthony Starr as Homelander, but Jensen Ackles certainly, at the very least, held it down and kind of kept that pace, and he was a great addition, like I said. Beyond that, I thought this was kind of a weaker season. I think that this one was a lot of smoke and mirrors. There was a bunch of hero-gasm, touting and all that, but it didn't really move things forward in any significant way to me. I think this was just very much a character retrospective season where each character had to kind of go through their own personal stuff and, kind of get to a slightly new place by the end of the season. Whether it was Homelander dealing with feeling alone and doing that and where he ends up, or Hughie trying to feel like he's not powerless and useless, or Butcher kind of having his obsession kind of, constantly messing up the close relationships in his life and him having to think about that and where he ends up. Mother's Milk and Frenchly have their own personal, independent movies going about like redemption and getting over trauma and all that stuff. So all of that stuff I get. And the cast really did deserve the chance to do more than shock and awe us and show us like, yeah, we're actors, we act, and we act well.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of great performances out of this season and a lot more actual acting out of this season. And so I get it, but it's just starting to feel like The Boys is not immune to that streaming series issue where you're starting to get into that second, third seasons where things don't feel like they're progressing enough. So that's just me. What do you guys think?
This is crazy, but I really do agree with. I thought this season was extremely strong, and I loved the season. But in order for this season to make an impact, and I don't want to say this because I hate losing characters, but people need to die. People we love and cherish need to be gone. So, spoilers, when certain people you think have left us show up not gone, it just kind of makes it all stagnant. Nothing progressed, nothing happened. There is no bow on top. There's no conclusion. And that's for me, this episode dropped it for me, because this season I was eating it up and loving it, but not having the finality of death, which is what they were working towards the entire season, was someone gonna die.
Yeah.
Someone did die. We're kind of split on spoilers right now in the comments, but somebody did die.
And someone's...
No, but even I said it was like the least expected person died in this.
Yeah.
And is the only person who died.
Yeah.
So,
it's just, and it's, I don't know. That that kind of dropped it for me. As much as I love to be like, oh my God, my favorite character's back. It's still kind of takes the value. It takes it away. It takes the impact away.
The voice was
so
what
that's
made
how
it.
I feel.
The voice was what made it. It's funny. I've really enjoyed the season. I've been
too.
more on the optimistic side.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed what they've done. And I felt like a lot of their slow burn stuff paid off towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then this finale just felt like it just didn't quite get there. It was almost there a couple times, 2 or 3 different times throughout the episode. You're like, okay, here's where we really hit the gear and we move. And then it would kind of go back, so take one step back, and you're like, and I agree with you, because I think one of the 2 perceived deaths needed to happen.
Yeah.
And so of those things, I know someone else dies, but I'm saying and even that, I wasn't a huge fan of how that happened. It made sense, but I was just I don't know. Mm-hmm. It was kind of anticlimactic for me.
Yeah.
And then when we get to the other ones, I'm like, seriously? Both you're going to do it? I don't know. That took a little bit of that out. It lessened the impact. And I do agree, looking back now, to your point, there has been some real, Butcher, if you look at where he started on this and where he is now, it really is night and day. He has grown and processed a lot. Mother's Milk has processed a lot. But I do agree that, they're not necessarily, gigantically different places than they were. I do look forward to maybe in the next season, though, because by the end of this one, we do finally get them there is kind of this coming back together thing. And that is nice, because we've spent so much of this season
apart,
split and then their own little worlds. I do hope next season we really actually get them as a group together moving forward.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the season did have a stronger kind of narrative thematically. It was all about family.
Yeah.
It was all about, these dysfunctional families that could never quite come together, and like them and people trying to figure out where they belonged, why they have these bonds or do not have these bonds. And it was consistent across the entire season. But like you said, I just don't think the payoff was there.
Yeah.
They do set up exciting things for season 4 without spoiling. There is more of a ticking clock.
Yeah.
There is an antagonist that's going to make things very complicated for them now. In the whole taking down Homelander thing is not so simple anymore. And there is a kind of a bigger, larger mission than just killing somebody you got to do. There's like a potential redemption arc and all that. And if you read the comics, you can see where they're going to maybe shift some of the stuff around, because they've taken out some characters, but they've added in some characters, and some storylines can get moved around. But yeah, I'm thinking I wouldn't be surprised if season 4 was not the last season, though, is what I say. And if I hear there's going to be like season 5, I'm going to be on season 4 already, because I think there's room to end this particular iteration of the story, and then you can do spin-offs, prequels, whatever you want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would watch, there's a lot in a prequel I would watch the more and more the show goes on. I would watch young, like, Billy Butcher kind of forming the boys and recruiting, like, Mother's Milk and all that. I'd watch Payback and like, all that stuff, because they were hilarious in that classic team, and just as a kind of parody of things. But, yeah, they do need to wrap up this iteration. They can't keep this gravy train going forever. And we're kind of past the comics now, so it's just kind of, yeah.
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah,
I think
me too.
that can actually be a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
So, all right, that's the boys' finale.
Which one do we do?
Let's talk about Stranger Things.
Okay.
So, yeah. We're gonna be here.
Okay, guys, we have to preface this. Matt just finished part 2
Last night.
last night. So
I am so hyped.
He is us like last week.
Yeah. Matt's on right now because he just finished. Yeah, but I've had a week to manage. I've had a week to kind of process and deal with our emotions.
Yes.
When we talked to you last, I wanted to revisit this because when we talked to you guys last time, we had just started the finale episodes, and I think we had all watched like the penultimate
first one,
episode, Papa, and all that. But we hadn't seen the finale, and we knew we were in for emotional damage, and we were all just kind of preparing for that. And so now we're back here a week later. So let's just talk about the finale episode. I don't think it's a secret. I mean, we can save some time here, and we all unanimously thought this was like Stranger Things is killing it right now. And that finale episode was the biggest and best. And even at 2.5 hours, like a Scorsese movie, like
It went by so
quick,
Yeah.
and it felt really, actually, it didn't feel like that big and epic. It actually felt smaller and simple because they did the blessed thing we love, which is a simple structure. Here's the mission. Here's what we got to do. Of course, there's complications along the way. But you can always follow what the basic overall mission was. Yeah. And it was kind of, and it made use of everything. So yeah, I thought it went by and it was well done. And this was in a time where I'm saying like even Marvel movies, and we'll get to this, don't feel like cinematic as they used to and feel more like long TV shows. This felt like a movie.
Yeah.
This felt like an Amblin action adventure movie to the utmost in just that one episode. Man, so I mean, I'm just going in circles. I'll just be singing the praises, but there was also so much in this episode. There was things I missed. I was doing this other podcast that I do, and we were talking about it, and somebody mentioned Jason and like what happens to Jason. I was like, wait, what? And I had to go back and look again, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like scarred because I didn't see that the first time because I didn't realize. I was actually wondering. I was like, whatever happened to Jason? And then I saw, Jason, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, he got Swiss cheese. He got grilled cheese. Yeah, that was really intense.
Yeah.
And there was just so much happening.
I had to go back, by the way, because when I saw it, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Is that, like, I had to rewind it. I was like, oh my God.
My fiance lost it on that. Yeah.
Because there's just so much happening, and like, and there's so much epic visuals and just music and the sequences that you really do have to kind of watch this maybe a couple times. I've been building up to go back in because I'm really excited. And to the Duffer Brothers' credit, I want to watch this 2.5 hour epic solid thing again, but I got to get myself ready. But so Stranger Things. And I have to eat so much crow because I came on here about that first episode and I went on and on and on about how this show may be past its prime and I don't know if Stranger Things can come back and blah, blah, blah. Man, they killed it. There's only one order for me now. to this show, and it's season 1, which is still like one of the best seasons of TV I've ever seen. Season 4, season 3, and then season 2 at the back. But yeah, Stranger Things is more than back. It is killing it on the TV zeitgeist, and I like that they even threw another surprise in here and surprised us about everything we thought we knew about Henry / Vecna / one, and we still learned something. And when you did learn it, the Duffer Brothers have done a good job because so many people drop the ball on mythology, like when they've been weaving together these big mythos across seasons, and they've pulled this together so beautifully. Like, as soon as they saw, and you saw that one sequence of Henry finding, like, the smoke and then shaping it into the spider, and I was like,
oh my God.
How did you, even between the end of the season, how did I never get that? Because I was sitting here and I was watching, I was like, what is the deal with the spiders? I was all Seinfelded out.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, and I'm just like, what's the deal with the spiders?
Wow.
And, like, yeah, then you figure it out, you know, the mind flayer, and then you're like, oh my God, like, yes, of course, like, and it all comes together. And so, yeah, I'm sorry, Duffer Brothers. My bad. Like, yeah, you guys still had it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Kofi just like literally summed it up perfectly, but the few things that stand out for me is obviously like the special effects are amazing.
Yes.
De-aging, what they did with 11 is incredible. Like, it didn't bug me, and it does bug me in some other like projects. And then the acting of these young actors, unbelievable. Like Max and her moment. All of them had these like scene-stealing emotional moments of acting, and I'm just like, I'm so impressed with these actors. I mean, they've really stepped it up.
Yeah.
You know me, I don't like the coming of age. Like, I don't like teenagers. Like, kids I like even more than teenage. But they are so endearing, and I'm loving watching them. And they do such a good job. Like, everyone on the show is like at their strongest.
These are definitely not the kids that hurt you in high school.
Yeah, no, they aren't.
Yeah. Well, I just
I'm
love,
one of them.
as Kofi was talking about, the fact that, yes, there's this main through line, but what I love about this season is that what typically happens is most shows will like, okay, well, we got to get them all in the same place. And so you end up with like this weird filler episode or whatever just to move the pieces around the board. And here they did such a good job of like working from where they were at. So everyone has a vital role to play in the final battle, but like they're split into 3 groups across 3 different parts of the world, right? And so but they all feel as connected, and the things that are the obstacles that are in the way present really compelling storytelling opportunities, like with 11, right? Like the fact that she can't do certain things or can't talk to certain people. Like, there's so many things that they used the placement of everybody to enhance. And typically that would be like, oh, well, that would be looked at as a flaw, or they would just try and shove everybody together so they could make it easier on themselves. And everybody had a really like important part to play. I watched this, it wasn't like last night, but it was yesterday, right? So I watched this before I watched The Boys, and I felt like I probably did a disservice to The Boys because I was so hype after this. I was walking around like, oh my God, I was losing my mind. And then I probably let myself down by watching that, because there's just no way to not leave this pumped. And then also just the setup they do for the next season is really great setup. And it's really like, there's a lot of character stuff in that last part. Like one of the biggest things to me was just like a great scene that you probably could have cut out if you really wanted to, but like 11 being in her mind and like how she's still looking for her. And it's just being this like black space. Like, I don't know, that scene just like hit me like really hard. I was just like, I don't know. There's so much great stuff coming into the next season. So I am
Don't count out Max.
I mean,
don't
that
count
was
out
us
Max.
last week. Yeah.
Mental warriors are still warriors.
This
I think Max is Vecna, but that's just me.
Oh, Reddit theory flying in.
Oh yeah. He's in Max.
Yeah, season 5 theories.
She's gonna wake up.
So how are you going to split them up now? Because you know they're going to split up again. No, I'm just kidding. I made that joke on Twitter that, you know, there's only a final battle left where we're going to have to split up to do it. You know, that's the Stranger Things way. Everybody always has to split up and go in their own direction.
They do it so well.
Yeah, they do it so well.
True.
There's still going to be some twists. I'm looking forward to seeing Will get his redemption and, you know, be able to kick Vecna's butt and actually use that damage to his advantage. And, I think Max is going to be the big kind of X factor. I don't know if she's going to be Vecna's vessel or kind of possessed by him. I think she's going to turn out to be I think her and Billy will come back as these kind of like weird spirit warriors. I think that's what the whole sequence at the end is, with Elle saying she knows she's kind of out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And Max being like half dead or whatever. But I think they'll be able to help from the inside, and Billy will get like a good little redemption. You know,
Heck yes.
Barb
Love
might be
that.
there too. You know,
Love Barb.
Yeah, need everybody
Give
come
me
back,
Barb.
and now that we know there's one person responsible, everybody's got to come back and get their vengeance. So
Yeah.
that'll be dope. Yeah, Barb comes in like Arya at the end, jumping with a knife.
Wow,
Just
I
like-
got that reference.
yeah, that'd be amazing. But yeah, Stranger Things is just dope. So if you guys haven't been checking this out, and I think I said it, like I think this is the true successor to Amblin Entertainment. Like a lot of people try to be that, but for this generation, you're talking about shows that bring kids into something where there's adventure, growing pains, dealing with real issues, scary stuff, all of that. Like, yeah, this is a successor to those Goonies movies and all that stuff we grew up with. And it's good to
Yeah.
have it back.
Yep.
Because kids need to know that they're, they gotta be scared. There's too much soft stuff before these kids. All right, so that's Stranger Things season 4, dope AF. All right, that just leaves Thor: Love and Thunder. So we are going to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder in full spoilers. We did our reactions last week. So this is the part where all of our fans that have not been out to the theater yet, you want to hit that mute button because we're still going to talk comics, but we are going to do a review of Thor: Love and Thunder. This is your spoiler warning. Hit that mute button if you haven't seen Thor 4. Janelle hasn't. She's putting her hands in her ears. But she does not want to get spoiled.
No, it's okay.
So here we go.
I'm
All right.
excited.
So I did my Thor 4 reaction last week. I'm going to do a review right now and just say I think Thor 4 is just fun. It's not like the greatest accomplishment I've ever seen Marvel do. It's certainly not the worst. It's not even the worst in this franchise by a long shot. Thor 2. So at the same time, this feels like a very kind of simplified and scaled down Thor movie. It feels like there was a lot more to it that they cut. We know Christian Bale did a whole other movie that he was in as Gorr, and it was an excellent movie, and he's an excellent actor. Christian Bale can act in anything, and he can do anything. In this movie alone, he is freaky scary. He's heartbreakingly like tragic, dramatic. He's funny and weird in one kind of like random sequence that's thrown in with him and children. Is kind of a weird idiosyncratic kind of guy. And by the end, it makes you really feel, he can have an entire full circle kind of arc to his character. And the way they portray Gorr is really good in this. This kind of guy who creeps out of the shadows and is kind of master of all these shadow creatures. I would have loved to see him. As always, these Marvel villains are great, but you always want more of them than we get in these movies. Mm-hmm. That's why I kind of like the Disney Plus series too. But yes, his Gorr was very good. And I love Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor. She was great. I particularly loved her in the action sequence, which is where I was kind of a little bit worried. But Natalie Portman, first of all, looks buff, looks like a superhero while still being still feminine Natalie Portman. Great kind of exercise and physique for that. And the way that they use Mighty Thor's powers and Mjolnir and the new features like Mjolnir's, broken pieces.
That thing rules, by the way. That power set is awesome.
Come back together.
Looks so good on screen.
Yeah, it was really good. And the action sequences in this are pretty good, for the most part. I was very entertained by all of those. And also the comedy. I don't mind Thor Ragnarok. I think Taika Waititi is funny. And I think that and people saying Marvel or Disney has turned Thor into this non-masculine goofball is the big criticism. But guys, that's actually Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth, the only reason he's still here is because after Thor 2 and that whole debacle, he went and was like, I'll do this, but I'm not doing this leading man dramatic Thor stuff. It's just nonsense. And I don't want to do that. And so that's why he partnered with Taika, because I personally like Thor, this series being the kind of postmodern version of this MCU franchise universe era that doesn't take all this so seriously and is openly satirical about a lot of it. And I like that Chris Hemsworth is able to play Thor and make fun of him while actually doing real kind of deeper, genuine character work. Mm-hmm. There is a genuine Thor story here, and it's about Thor, Odin's son, and Thor's been a consistent story in the MCU. Probably one of the best character ones across all these different films. Yep. About everything he's gone through, everything he lost, where he is emotionally and all that, which is in this one, he's kind of gotten back this bravado. He's not depressed fat Thor anymore. He's gotten back this bravado, but in a very subtle way, Taika Waititi is very good about getting underneath that using comedy and showing you how this guy is still completely insecure, completely damaged from the things he's been through, and why it's such an issue when Jane then shows up again and, brings up all this old stuff. And they do it beautifully and funny in this, where Thor is also there's this weird love triangle with his weapons and all that. And I love that Taika can have fun with that, where a whole subplot of this film is Thor not to try to make Stormbreaker jealous as he's kind of having feelings from seeing Mjolnir again and being like, and there's a whole thing where he goes to the deck of the boat they're on just to check on Stormbreaker and see how it's feeling, and like him talking to an axe is it's hilarious to me. So I like this more. I think serious Thor would be laughing at it in the wrong way. Like if I had still dramatic Shakespearean Thor, I wouldn't be on. And so I like this version of it because I think Hemsworth is still a leading man. He's just a different era of leading man. Yeah. That doesn't have to do the whole... he looks... that naked scene alone, there's nothing non-masculine about this dude. It's just the fact that he can laugh at himself and have fun with himself and his own persona, that's not a bad thing to me. So I like what Taika's done, and I enjoyed this movie. And it brought fun back to MCU Phase 4 films, which is something I haven't felt in a whole lot of large parts, because even Spider-Man was dark and Aunt May got murked and all this stuff is happening. But this was fun, even though we deal with really serious stuff and some real tragic stuff in this movie. So
it looks really fun.
Yeah, I think you said it really, really well. I think my initial thing is just it's a really fun movie. I'm still I don't know where I put it as far as rankings or anything yet, or even compared to Ragnarok. I think Ragnarok hit different because it was so fresh at the time. It was so unexpected. Now you're going in and this is a Taika movie. And I'm already kind of on the, I'm already a little critical of the MCU formula as far as we got to crack a joke. It feels like sometimes you have a quota, you got to crack so many jokes or whatever. Obviously, I don't knock this for those same things because this is a specific type of movie. This is a Taika Chris movie. You know what you're getting in that respect. So I can't really, I can't knock it for being unquestionably what it is. Whether I love that style or not, apply to this story because Jane's run as Thor in the books is one of my favorite Thor runs. It's fantastic. Jason Aaron's work in that book with her is fantastic. Part of the reason why it hits is because it was all these payoffs over this really awesome course of time. You had time to really feel for her and get into her personal story with this battle between when I become Thor, I stop the healing process of my body can't recover, but then I also don't have to deal with that when I'm Thor. All those conflicts she has. So here it's bundled. It's they made room to do all those fun Thor things at the expense of giving that took away time from her story, and that's really what I care about here. And then Gore's story. So I feel I liked it, but it was just man, I almost wish we would have saved that or introduced her here and then save the real part for a separate movie, because here it felt we're trying to do too much at once, and I felt her story kind of got compartmentalized with some other stuff, and I would rather kick the other stuff and just focus on her.
Yeah, I think there was
especially where we get by the end.
Yeah, I think there's missed opportunity because there is supposed to be a whole, and I think there might have been a deeper at one point story about faith and what you put your faith in and is that rewarded and how you believe, right? And they tried to bring that all together with Jane making the decisions that she makes in the third act.
But that's hard to do in 2 hours, and you're fitting all these other people in here.
And I think that the heavier parts of this, which, they don't leave out, and we're talking spoilers, so they don't leave out the cancer storyline. Yeah. That's a very big part of this. But they only do it in about 2 scenes that they touch on it. One with Kat Dennings and one with Chris Hemsworth, where they actually have conversations. And those scenes are both excellent.
Right.
But I think they were scared of making it too heavy.
But you don't have any time to process those.
No.
You have no time to explore those as concepts, and then it kind of shortchanges them.
It's heavy for all of a minute, and then they go back into the irreverent.
And that's the stuff I really wanted to when they kept throwing around the mature Taika story. I was really excited because we've seen him tackle that kind of dark subject matter for a long period of time and really get into it. And here I just felt like, okay, I understand the fun aspects of it, but like, could we remove some of that and put her back in? So that was my only thing, especially when we're towards the end.
I mean, yeah, and I thought they kind of have faked people out, but I get Natalie Portman just wanted to kind of maybe come through and, bring. If I did the interviews for Thor 2, and that was one of the most awkward interviews I have ever done in my life. No joke, because she was so unhappy. She was so ready to do a movie with Patty Jenkins, and they were going to make this whole thing. And I think they would have pushed things this way a lot earlier.
Right, I do too.
And then when that all fell apart and we just got the Dark World, Natalie Portman sat in that room and she just looked like that Ben Affleck stare, like just 1,000-yard stare, like she did not want to be there. And that's why she left, like after that. Like she was done with Marvel. So I'm glad she got to come back around and, and her whole thing at that time was like, yeah, there's like this playing this damsel. She was one of the first to say, like, playing all these girlfriends and like damsel in distress, this is crap. Like, I want to pick up a hammer and like smash some people.
That's great. Love it.
It's good that she got to come around and do this. I thought she might hang around longer, but I get why these actors are not going to sign up for this for like 10 years now.
Right.
But hopefully we get to go back sometimes and fill in some, because Marvel loves to do this, some backstory fills. We'll see the mighty Thor appear here and there. But yeah, what'd you think about the post-credit scenes? Because we got some post-credit scenes first. Our boy from Ted Lasso, Brett Goldstein, who plays Rory in Ted Lasso and is also one of the writers of that show. He's that's what he was. They liked him so much when he was a writer.
That's amazing.
That they were like, yo, you're going to play Rory. And he was like, all right. So he came in, he's joining the MCU as Hercules.
Yeah.
Hercules. And so, like, yeah, he has a post-credit scene with Russell Crowe's Zeus because Zeus is pissed. Thor stole his thunderbolt, impaled him, and he wants to bring the old gods back into power, and so he unleashes Hercules to go kill Thor. So that's kind of what's next for the Thor solo series. And I'm interested to see what they do, because is that going to be another Taika one? Because I'm not, like, certain off the bat that, like, the next chapter of Thor would be a Taika
But here, man, but with a character like, with as fun... Here's the thing. It really just depends on what their take on Hercules is. In the books, when Hercules is allowed to be this kind of funny, goofy powerhouse and cheery, he's like very cheery sometimes, depending on who's writing him. He's amazing. I love that kind of version of it. That's perfect for Taika, right? That's a Korg in his hands, right? Like, he could do wonders with that. If they go kind of the more self-serious route, then, maybe not. But even then, like, I'm excited for that. That could be really... really fun. And also it ties into I love that it brings in Zeus and it brings in the overall gods, and the argument there is actually compelling as far as like, he has a point, right? Like, they're taking us, they look at these other heroes as miniature gods. They don't need us anymore. Like, I could see that, and especially with like, so I'm good for that. I think I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna see a God War when everybody's left. God War. All right. So what about the thing? And I mean, I did get a little teary-eyed at the end, and I don't know. I felt like, I was like, Marvel, your manipulations. Yes, the last scene, the post-credit scenes is that Jane, because there's a whole little blurb in this about what you do to get in Valhalla, and she dies in battle as Thor and ends up in Valhalla, where she's greeted by Idris Elba's Heimdall. Poor Loki, I guess, didn't make it, but that's the breaks when you're evil. But yeah, so Jane's in Valhalla, which in Marvel means, everything they do now is the same. They put people in little pockets in there, like, they're gone, but we could bring them back. In Valhalla, if you know anything about Marvel lore, there is a routine kind of recycling of Asgardian lives and Asgard and stuff like that.
Well, and it's weird though too, because this was their out. Yeah. Right. So like, Jane becomes Valkyrie, the leader of the Valkyries at one point in the books, right? After her time as Thor. So it makes total sense. They put her here. The thing is, in the comics, they hadn't really positioned MCU's Valkyrie in that spot. So it kind of like, there was this whole legacy passing and things like that kind of preceded her in the comics. So here it's a little different. You've already got someone, even though she's busy with Asgard and stuff, but like, I am curious to see kind of what they do, what kind of role they put her in. Because
they have done with Tessa Thompson's character about what happened to all her sisters and all of them being killed. It'd be cool if in the next Endgame event, like Jane comes in and saves
She
the day,
restarts the core,
Valkyries,
right?
and like they all come riding in. That'd be badass.
Yeah. So I mean,
badass. I want to see it.
They
I
have
need
a
that.
built-in way to get her back
Yes,
in.
I need that. I need to see Jane Foster ride in with a whole squad of Valkyries that just get off the horses and be like, what, A-Force, and just start spearing people. Right next to the Dora Milaje. They're all together.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
They're like, what up, Black
Yeah,
Queens?
no,
What
I
up,
like
White Queens? All you Valkyries. Although this is a mixed Valkyries, though. It'd be crazy, though. Yeah, so Thor Love and Thunder is out now. And yeah, just, I mean, it's something to have fun with. I don't see this getting mad, and I think it's worth the theater because I think this is one you should watch with a crowd. You should laugh with a crowd. You should get a little serious at the moments with a crowd. This is a crowd pleaser. So I would recommend watching it.
Yay.
All right. So that's that. Now we got minuscule time left over,
Yeah.
but let's talk books. And I mean, it's probably good because this is a DC fest this week.
It was a DC Fest. Well, we had a lot of Marvel news up top, so we balanced it out.
Yeah.
Let's start with Batman number 125, which is one I've been excited about because Chip Zdarsky starts his Batman run, and I have yet to read anything in recent memory that Chip wrote that I didn't like. And spoiler, I really like Batman.
Yeah, there's any artwork in this. This is some of the best
This
Batman.
is George Jimenez, I believe. Yeah.
It's some of the best work he's
Gorgeous.
done on Batman. Like, there's one thing when he's running up on a criminal down a hallway, and I was like, holy crap, that is a great Batman.
It's stunning. And we've seen some gorgeous Batman books,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, this is stunning artwork. And I love here, too, that, I mean, one of my favorite, I love when they use Penguin in a fun and interesting way. And here he's propped up on this, like, kind of pedestal of like, hey, we're gonna show why Penguin is a cool villain, and it saves some twists for towards the end, and that leads to other threads that can open up here in the future. And Batman is still, this is all in the fallout of Joker War and stuff, all that stuff that happened. It felt like eons ago. I did like that they brought back. Oh my God, the Broker. That was fun to see.
Yeah.
I was like, man, someone bring back Designer. I love
Dude,
Designer.
Brian was in the comments saying Selena out here living reckless.
Yeah, that too, right?
Yeah.
We just read Batman.
Just
Catwoman.
read Batman Catwoman,
Yeah,
bro.
but clearly that was in its
these
own little
girls move off
continuity.
fast.
But yeah, I like that we're dealing with the Robin stuff is really interesting too, like how they dealt with that, his relationship with Tim.
Yeah, I'm happy to have Tim back.
Yeah,
Tim's great.
There's just a lot of really good stuff here. So for kicking off a new run, I mean, it's 125, right? So it's not like it started with a new number one or anything. I really feel like this is a perfect onboarding point. I really thought they did a good job of getting you up to speed enough, and then let's move you into this. And it's a nice take on Batman. I love the Penguin stuff. I'm good with Ron. What do you guys think?
Yeah, there's something about Batman villains at the end that they're always best. Like, this was some Riddler Hush type stuff that Penguin pulls off. And like, again, like in Hush, Riddler is the most unassuming person, but turns out to be kind of the most cunning one. But in Penguin, like you said, there's a lot that Chip Zdarsky gets about Penguin that he kind of does. And there's just funny conversations in here about, wealth and elitism and all that. And Batman's just like, yo, bro, what are you even talking about? Like,
I know, I love that part.
I love that
and
part.
I love that Penguin can kind of sense stuff about Batman without knowing who he is.
Yeah.
And is like, you are a rich dude. Like,
Yeah.
clearly you're a rich boy. Like, and he can suss out all that stuff. But it's a pretty diabolical plan, and that's what Penguin is diabolical. And, like, he pulls something off at the end. I mean, there's even fake outs with Clayface. It's like classic Batman stuff in here. And none of this is, and this is what Chip Zdarsky does so well, none of this is new.
Yeah.
Not a single piece of this is new. Not one of this. I mean, dying villain, terminally ill villain doing stuff to really screw the hero one last time. Not new. Yeah, all that. But he does it in a way that is really kind of fresh and exciting because he knows the characters and the beats, and it all feels interesting about the character work he's doing here. And so now Bruce has no money. He's like sleeping in a flop house, and now he's got this whole like back to Batman is not this uneasy alliance with the police, which is kind of classic Batman. So yeah, exciting stuff to jump off, and it doesn't have to be as big and crazy like a Joker War.
Right.
It's just Batman, new status quo.
Yeah. Wow. That's like perfectly said. Agreed. I mean, it's beautiful. I love like the artwork. The storyline is really easy to follow. You can pick it up and you know what's happening. If you have any clue on any of these villains, like you're going to just be so excited to see them. And yeah, it's just an easy and fun read. Again, one of those ones I kind of just like escaped into and didn't really realize that I was at the end. I'm like, no, wait, what? I'm at the end.
No, I did. This one was long, but like I got to the end and then I was like, wait, that's the end? I was like, oh,
But I
man.
do like the ending as well. Like, and I'm very curious to see where we go from here because we got some news that, well, I'm not spoiling, but where we go from here is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and even the backup had a great little tie-in to like what that fallout leaves, and even that stuff is kind of like I'm interested to. I hope they keep doing those because I want to follow that. Let's move into Dark Crisis #2, which
The opposite.
again is huge. Yeah, this one's on an epic scale. This one's huge. Still very Batman-centric though because of Nightwing, right? It's very Bat family centric. This is really just about the showdown between Deathstroke and his army against the Titans. And it does not go as you would. It goes as you would expect and also as not like you would expect at the same time. I was very kind of conflicted on how that battle played out.
Yeah.
And then we get to the great, I mean, I really liked the stuff with just the showdown between them. And honestly, I could have had that for, I felt like there was a little bit cut short and then we moved into other stuff, which I like some of that other stuff, but I was just like, man, I would have taken a whole issue of let's just have that battle. Let's have more back and forth between them. And then you get the typical, like, we're going to leave you alive.
Talking about Dick Grayson and Slade.
Yeah. And Deathstroke. It just felt like, I don't know why we moved off of that. Like really give it a finite point. You know, and instead it just feels like you meddling kids, and then he walks away. Why would you ever? I understand you have to do that for a reason, but like you don't want to kill everybody. But I don't know. It's just yeah. I was conflicted. I still enjoyed the issue a lot, mostly because I do feel like it presents some interesting things for Dick as a leader.
Yeah.
Because you have Titans leaving. People are like, no, I'm not giving my life for this. This is not worth it. I came to school because I thought it'd be fun to be a superhero. I love some of the reality of that. But like, I don't know, I was hoping for more of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, and to link our two books together, and for a time too, or at least last two books, it has been a little confusing to read Dark Crisis and Flashpoint Beyond together in the same timing.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Because just like all the things that are going on with this multiverse event, like they're kind of related to each other, but like
not really.
Yeah. And it gets, the bleed over gets to be a little bit confusing. But I gotta say that I'm enjoying Flashpoint Beyond a little bit more. I think that's the more interesting story here because Dark Crisis is another one of those things that it should be a simple premise. It's kind of testing this new generation without the Justice League there to protect them. But I feel like it's getting lost in its own intents and like focuses of like you said, you could have done this chapter very easily just with Slade and Nightwing and just about, is this generation ready? Well, yes, there's Dick Grayson here. And even though they're not fully ready, there is the meat of what they need to get there and become this next generation of heroes led by people like Nightwing.
Yeah.
And so, but I think, like you said, there's just too much stuff getting thrown in with Black Adam now the leader of the Justice League. There's all this other stuff that's happening. Pariah, I can't stand the Pariah story of all this. It's just, I don't like Pariah. He's a weak character. Just give me Darkseid. Like, just get him out of the way. But yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag, but I did like, again, there is some real good character stuff in here, like about Dick Grayson, about the Titans, about, you know, in just Slade getting brutal with like Beast Boy and all of that stuff. Like, yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag for me.
Do you kind of agree
I mean,
on that?
of the three, this one was the least memorable for me, but I really enjoyed all of them.
Yeah.
I am kind of a little burned out on DC stuff and Batman stuff, but the more that I'm putting in the work and getting to know these characters and seeing them and recognizing them, the more it really does pay off. And so I thought it was definitely worth reading.
Yeah.
But it didn't stand out as much as the other two for me.
Yeah, and on his note of Flashpoint Beyond, I really have been into like that third issue with all the Dent stuff and the back and forth, and then also the Superman of it all. And we've seen that story play out so many times, and yet finding a fresh take on that and a fresh relationship with Thomas, because Thomas, as was pointed out to me, like your immediate reaction is like, oh man, you really do suck sometimes. Why do you suck so much? But he's got a point, and in his mind, none of this should exist, so why am I going to get into it? It does make sense. I have to give him credit. And then I will say our last book is Poison Ivy #2.
Yes.
By the way, we had a tie. We've never had a tie in the poll. So that's why we had Poison Ivy 2 and Flashpoint Beyond #3. Poison
All
Ivy
Batman,
2.
all the time.
Yeah, it was a lot of DC this week. Poison Ivy #2. Again, I really enjoyed this for moving. This is a character study. That's what this book is. And so far, I'm really intrigued by it. It always ends in a really weird place for me. I
does.
never feel like that. The first two issues kind of always end abruptly for me. And I don't know why. Maybe that's just a me and how I'm reading a thing, but I always need like one more page of something to really hook me for the next one. But I still really enjoyed it. But what would you say your favorite book out of the week is? Would it be Batman?
Probably
125?
Batman. Probably Batman. But Poison Ivy, God, I just love looking at her. I love the way she's just so hot. Like, I just love her outfits. I love the alternative covers. I love her, and I relate to her because I do care about the environment a lot. So I yell at my fiance when he doesn't recycle like a plastic bag. So I don't know. I just like relate to her, and I'm like, I guess I'm like an evil villain, like Kofi called me out, because I'm like, well, she's trying to save the planet, so.
So let's have
What's
all
a little
these dead
murder?
bodies that are bad.
Yeah, what's a little
Man.
murder?
And
Wow.
like the
Saving the
death
world, bro.
is really beautiful though. Like she
Yeah.
like makes sure people are not in pain and they're almost in bliss, and like they turn into like, they decompose into like the earth. It's just, I just love, I don't know, it's refreshing. It's a
Twitter.
different side. It's not just, hey, I'm knifing people in the streets and there's blood
I
everywhere.
need you to investigate
It's
a
just a
yard
different
at the
take.
following address. Bring the bone sensors. Look into this yard.
I just
Look
think it's
into the garden.
different because like a lot of these comics are kind of like, hey, I'm a superhero, here's lasers out of my eyes. Hey, I'm a superhero, I'm really good with a knife.
Yeah.
Like I shoot people. Like she's just really unique.
Yeah,
And seeing
agreed.
her in comics has been really cool because
That's
like I had
awesome.
only ever seen her in
Animation and
animation
movies,
and movies, and so it's really nice to explore her because I do like a deep dive on Poison Ivy.
Nice.
That's comics.
Yeah. One thing we didn't say about Dark Crisis because there's too much in there, but yeah, there were also some fun reunions in that book. Kyle Rayner
Yeah,
meeting,
my boy's back.
meeting what's her name for the first time. Like I didn't know that was the first time they'd ever met. I'm not up on Green Lantern.
Oh, Joe? Yeah, him and Joe. Yeah, they
Yeah,
haven't.
and there was another meeting in there that happened that was a lot of fun. What was the other one? Oh, I forget. Anyway, I'm not going to stump that hard for Dark Crisis.
Yeah, I was
the
very
Green
excited
Lantern
that Kyle
Corps.
Rayner's in the group.
Yeah, the Green Lantern Corps coming. Oh, there was just fun things like Cyborg Superman versus like
Yeah, that was really
Jonathan,
cool.
and all that stuff.
He got a ring.
I
He's
did
got
not
his ring
watch that
back.
movie.
So
either.
Kyle Rayner's back.
Kyle Rayner for life, baby.
Kyle Rayner for life. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We told you you're your one-stop spot for all things geek culture. Today you learned why we did Marvel, we did movies, we did TV, we did DC, we did wrestling. Man, it's been a lot. But we want to thank you guys for hanging out. As always, if you are just somehow stumbling into this show in Season 4, we are on your podcast and streaming platforms. Find us. Otherwise, we will see you guys again next week. You can talk to us when we're off the show all week. You can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
And you can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
I feel Rich has had these graphics loaded up and we haven't used them in like weeks. Thank you, Rich, and everybody, and Peter,
you,
and all our
Rich.
producers. Well,
Thanks,
we will
Peter.
see you guys next week. We are Comic Book Nation. Peace.
Bye, guys.